Hello, friends. Okay, this is my second video. Um, if you don't know, I'm very new to this. I have never done anything like this. Um, but all I heard was the Lord tell me it's time to tell your story. Like I explained previously, so this is going to be like a part two to my introduction. I have to start all the way back so that you can understand who I am and just everything about me. So it'll be like a couple of introductions before I get right into my time now and the book the Lord had me to write. I was going to give like a whole lot of insight in that book because it's something what the Lord has done with me in these 2.5 would be 3 years and a couple of more days that I lost my husband. So, but you have to hear the back end story. And I thought this was going to be harder than what it is now that I just jumped on here. So if you're looking for perfection and things to be a certain way, you got the wrong channel. I'm just coming raw and real, and I'm just being obedient to the Holy Spirit. And I'm going to talk to you like I'm talking to the person on the airplane the Lord assigns me to, the person overseas on my mission trip. He sends me places, and it might be just one person there that he wants me to minister to. And I tell them parts of my life, whatever they need at that moment, and deliverance happens very quickly. So when you're in a place in God, the best thing ever is to know your purpose and your assignment and just move in it because it's a beautiful thing. It's so fulfilling, and I really love where I'm at. But I have to walk you guys through this to show you that if it was possible for me, it's possible for you. So on that note, the last video I gave y'all bits and pieces of my upbringing and how I met the husband I was married to for 30 years. But I need to go back in there and give you some more detailed stuff because I left it out. And I just want to like give that to you. So I was telling you about after high school how I met a young man and how my brothers were in gangs and how I fought all my life growing up, you know, helping them fight guys or them training me or teaching me how to fight girls that were jealous of me in high school. And so that's what I was doing. And my brothers wouldn't let me date nobody. And plus guys were scared to date me because of my brothers. I'm from Gary, Indiana, like I told you. But I'm in Ohio right now. So I've been here like the whole time I've really been married, like over 30 years. But yeah, I had a something else childhood, you know, and it made me tough. It made me this person that I thank God He has did work on me because it made me hearted. It made me mean. It made me because that's what my brothers were doing. They was trying to make me tough, but that person was cursing, getting angry so quick, just jumping off at people so fast. And yeah, me. Yep, me. And when I tell people that story, total strangers, they can't believe it. They be like, you was a little gangster, you know. And I had long hair all the way down my back, like, and I would twirl it up on the top of my head, but when it was time to fight. So I'll tell you something about that down the way. So stick with me. But yeah, but my brothers wouldn't let me date no one. This guy, they knew him. We grew up with their family. So he was like the only one I could date after high school. He took me to the prom and, and we got engaged. And he was living, a certain way that he got shot and killed. And it tore me up. It tore me up to the place where I was literally thinking I was going crazy. I was crying all the time. My mom was coming in my room. She was just like, baby, you have to stop all that crying. You're going to drive yourself crazy. And one of my friends, I wasn't just getting suspended because my brothers was having me to fight. But then after my mom and them seen that, no, you're not going to be having your sister getting suspended, they were playing the fights after school, after we got off the school bus. So, but I had a girlfriend in school, my best friend, and she's no longer with us. She died shortly after the guy passed away that I'm speaking of. And she basically told my mom, let Chalanda come over my house. I'll help her through this. Well, she was just taking me to the clubs and, and we were just partying. That was her way of getting me out of that stuck place. So finally, that's how I met the other guy that was a backslider. His mother asked us to come to church. One day he was driving down the street and I stopped him and I was like blowing at him. I'm going one way, he going another. And I did a U-turn and was blowing him down. I was like really bold. Yes, very bold as a young lady. And he finally slowed down. He comes to the car. He said, can I help you? I said, why you didn't slow down? He said, because I just left my girlfriend's house. And I said, oh, she'll be all right. So that was my bouncing back. And I said, you want to take me to the movies and out to dinner tonight? And he looked at me. And I said, well, you just can't take me. You got to take my friend right here because I don't know you. And he did that. And we were together after that. And like I told you, I was crying on that man's shoulder about the other guy. And then we go to church and I told you how I ended up getting saved. He ended up getting saved, but he left the church again. Well, now I'm going to begin the ending, how after he left, the Lord told me not to date nobody in the church. Me and my husband now, and me and that young man was engaged, and he left the church. I gave him back his ring and all of that. So I'm at this church by myself, but with people that knew me from school. They knew my history. They knew my brothers. They watched me. They couldn't believe I was crying. And the Lord was dealing with me the way he was dealing with me. He was helping me through that death. And now another relationship died. So I'm like dealing with two fiancés. And I'm crying. And the Lord is talking to me like, I'm not crying because of them. I'm crying because the Lord was dealing with my heart. He was healing me. He was making me whole. I have never experienced a man like that. And I laugh because I think about the woman at the well, and how Jesus said, who is your husband? And she said, I have no husband. And he said, yeah, and the one you with right now is not your husband. And like, he knew she had 5 different men she had been with. But what I'm saying is that the Lord was like, I don't want you to date nobody else. I'm going to bring you your husband, because he knew those guys wasn't your husband. So stop dating. Don't date nobody else in this church. This time, I'm going to bring you your husband. It won't just be a fiance. So, looking back at all, I was just 21 years old. I had graduated, and all of that happened to me. I was like, wow. And I got saved at 21. Well, I was like 20 years old. And then I got saved like the end of, that year at 21 years old. But yeah, and I stayed there even though he left. So I told you how I started getting busy before the Lord, because the Lord said, get busy Get all up in me, Chalanda. Get busy and get to know me basically, and I will bring you your husband. And I said, okay. I took him at his word. I believed God so much. I was just a young babe in him, and I just was so excited about serving him. And he was doing something in the inside of me that no man, no boyfriend, or no fiance could ever do. And so I get on this auxiliary, this young man that I knew from school, and his brothers knew each other, and we're both the babies in the family. But like I told you, he was a young minister. He was preaching at school under the football field balcony. And the kids that were saved, like I said, that was going to the church, they would meet him with their lunch to hear him teach the word on lunch hour at school while I was being suspended. But he was an artist. He used to walk around the school with Jesus saved on his jeans. So he was very bold for the Lord. And coming in, I loved that about him. Like, he was fine looking and everything, y'all. So maybe one day I'll show y'all a picture of, but so he was good on the eyes, but I wasn't in tune in that because of the fact that the Lord told me, I'm going to bring you your husband. So I didn't no longer have to be like not looking for nobody. They looked for me, but I was so focused that I wasn't going to let that happen, if you know what that means. It was just like he was a brother in the church. And I was respecting that because it was like the Lord was like, don't mess with my brothers, you know? And yeah, so I was just like, okay. And he taught me so much. We sat on the phone all night, you know. And I'm repeating a lot of stuff in my other video because I'm pulling out little other nuggets out of there. And we literally would sit on the phone talking about God. It wasn't no hokey pokey stuff. It wasn't no, I like you. It wasn't nothing like that. And I just loved the God in him. I was falling in love with the God in him. And it was just so weird. It wasn't him. It was what was in you. I love so much. And we was just the best of friends. He was come over, wash my car. And I still wasn't getting it that he could possibly be liking me. And that eventually came out, you know, but he would come pick me up for, you know, our choir rehearsals and just all kind of stuff. And it was just, you know, because I didn't have a car, I think, for a minute. And then I got a car. And then he started like asking, can he wash my car? But very good gentleman. I mean, it was beautiful, you know, our relationship, because it started out friends, brothers and sisters in the Lord. And I told you how the president of the auxiliary came up to us because he had told me he had liked me, and I told him I gotta ask the Lord about you like I did the other 5 brothers, and the Lord told me no, they wasn't my husband. So now I gotta find out if you my husband, because I don't want to waste time with you. And so we gave it a week because the Lord went mute on me about this young man. He wasn't telling me nothing. And I'm learning that a lot of times when God don't say nothing or anything to you, that don't mean he's saying no or yes. And I'm learning that in my life now, because when he go mute on me, I be just like, what do I do? What do I do? You know, I had a husband that I could go to that was my leader, that was my prophet, that was my preacher in the house. So now I'm in a place where I have to figure out what God is saying to me personally. Not that I didn't have a relationship. Oh, yes, I had a relationship, but I knew protocol. I knew that my relationship went through my husband. And now I'm back into the singleness, which I love it so much because he spoiled me when I was single. And so, yeah, so real quick, so the president of the auxiliary came up, and that's when she said, you know who your wife is, and pointed to me. And then she said to me, you know who your husband is, and pointed to me and said, why are you guys playing games? And she walked away. And yes, he proposed to me 2 weeks later, but it was a time frame before that happened. I was getting to know God. he was my friend that I could go to about God and talk to him about God, and was sitting on the phone with him. But in between that, I was working as a nurse. I had just came out of school, so I was like in my nursing field. I was in college, but I was in my nursing field, but not all the way done with my nursing, if that makes sense. So I would go visit private clients, and I'm getting to know God. He's showing up in my life. I'm seeing him in so many ways, not just spiritually, but the demonic side. Because when I got saved, the Lord told me, because I was fighting all the time in the natural, he said, you're no longer going to fight in the natural. You're about to start fighting in the spiritual. And I didn't know what that meant. I was just like, oh, okay, I could still put hands on somebody, but I didn't get, I was like, in the spiritual, okay. I was like, whatever that means, but I could still fight though. Okay. I didn't know I was going to be going in with Satan and his imps and his demons. And they came and visited me quickly, you guys, quickly. I have to get back into that story because I did a recap. And I don't want these videos to be too long, but they started visiting. But I'm going to tell you this one. I was waiting at the bus stop and I needed 10 cents. And see, this is how the Lord was getting me to know him during that, when the other guy left and backslid, and I was just having a relationship with God and getting to know him, because he said he was going to bring me my husband, not to date nobody. These were the miracles and the things that he was showing me he was real. And I'm standing at the bus stop. Now, I have no money, you guys. I needed 10 cents. And back then, when you put the money in the thing, it counted your coins. It made sure, and the bus driver would tell you, you need 10 more cents, or you need another quarter. And yeah, it added it up on his side. And I'm standing there and hear the bus coming, because it was just, I walk out of my door and go down to this corner to catch this one bus. But it was another bus I needed to keep going all the way down, that I'll tell you about that one, where a demon, a spirit of darkness approached me down there. But that'll be in the next video. But the bus coming, and the spirit said, look down. And I looked down. In between my feet wasn't but this much space. And a shiny dime was sitting there. And I picked it up, and the bus opened up his doors, and I got on and put it in there. And I was like, wow, you are real. But that was it, you guys. And I might just get off and get back on. I don't want these videos to be too long, because it takes a while to upload and all that. And I'm new to this, so I'll get off and get back on. So it's going to be a part 3 introduction. Okay. Talk to you later, you guys. Bye.